I could feel the panic racing through my bloodstream. It was making it hard to focus on work. How had such an ordinary day turned upside down so fast? One minute I was answering calls, the next I was spiraling, all from a single text that read, "The forest is burning." I reread the message at least 5 times, time frozen in place and my heart racing. I remember thinking to myself, what do you mean the forest is burning? Is it close? Do I need to be worried? Time snapped back and my fingers flew across the keyboard, Googling as fast as I could about any fires near my hometown. And that's when I read it. Homes threatened as wildfire burns near my hometown. I felt the ice spread through my body. I didn't even realize I was dialing her until I heard her voice, warm and steady. "What's up, sweetie?" And I said, "There's a fire?" She answered like it was just another piece of information to hold, not something that would unravel you. "I know. I got the call around midnight. I've been up since. Everything's packed. The animals are ready. You don't need to worry." Which, of course, did absolutely nothing to stop me from worrying. We talked a little longer, and she even laughed about her ex panicking next door. And I remember thinking, of course he's panicking. Any sane person would be, but not my mom. This wasn't her first time doing this. We got off the call, but I couldn't focus on anything after that. I texted my husband to let him know what was going on, and then texted his family asking them to keep us in their thoughts and prayers. I tried to keep answering calls as they came in, but my mind wasn't there anymore. It kept circling the same questions. How close was it? How long until my mom got evacuated? Would she? Was my best friend in danger too? I just wanted to see them, to touch them, to know they were okay. And the longer the day went on, the more I could feel that familiar spiral creeping in, that old abandonment wound starting to open up underneath everything else. My husband texted me asking if I wanted to go home, and by that point I was trying really hard not to dissociate. I remember staring at my phone and telling him, I don't know, I can't make decisions right now. So he called me, and we talked through it for a bit, trying to figure out what made sense and what we could even do. And then I reached out to my mom. I sent a group text asking if she would be upset if we came out. Her response came back simple and steady. No, she had company coming and didn't have the room. She would be fine, and there was no reason for us to come. And I just sat with that. I didn't argue. I didn't push. I just hearted the message. But inside, something twisted. I felt this wave of anger rise up, sharp and immediate. And right underneath it was something heavier. It felt like rejection. Like she didn't understand that I wasn't trying to be helpful. I needed to come home. I needed to see it, to be there, to hold on to it while it was still there. Because in my mind, we weren't just talking about a house. We were talking about the house that she and Dad built together, one of the last physical places that still holds him. The home and land where all of my childhood lives, good and bad. The place that held me when everything else didn't. The place that took me in when my own biological mother decided I was too much and drove away. And suddenly, it wasn't just about the fire anymore. It was about the possibility of losing that too. Thankfully, I only had a half day at work because my husband and I already had couples therapy scheduled. But even sitting there in a space that's supposed to help you slow down and process, I still couldn't articulate why I was so stressed and upset to anyone else but myself. I could feel it clearly inside me, but the second I tried to put it into words, it just wouldn't translate. And then my therapist started saying the same kinds of rational things my mom had said. That there wasn't anything we could do, that there was no point in stressing about it. And I could feel the frustration building almost immediately. I wanted to scream. I wanted to yell at everyone in that room. Why didn't they understand? Why was everyone so goddamn calm about this? Like it didn't actually matter. Because to me, it did matter. It mattered in a way I didn't know how to explain without unraveling everything underneath it. And I didn't want to do that. Not there, not like that. So I changed the subject. I let the conversation move on to other things. And on the surface, the rest of the session was actually really good. We talked, we connected. It felt productive in all the ways therapy is supposed to feel productive. And before we left, she reminded me to take care of myself, to take steps towards self-care around the fire. But even with all of that, something in me still felt unresolved. I was still holding all of it in my body with nowhere for it to go. I decided to go to the gym after therapy, trying to move the stress out of my body, trying to clear my head. I did my usual mile walk, the same routine that normally helps me come back to myself, but nothing was working. My mind just kept looping, replaying the conversations with my mom, with our therapist over and over again. I was obsessively checking the Watch Duty app, refreshing it like something might change if I looked at it enough times. If anything, the walk just made me more tired, more wired, and more stuck in it. So I went home. I curled up in my favorite chair and just sat there, staring at my phone, watching the app like I could hold the situation together just by paying attention to it. And that was the moment it really hit me. This deep, heavy kind of hopelessness. Not frantic, not sharp, just heavy. Like everything in me had nowhere left to go. And then I felt her. It wasn't loud, it wasn't overwhelming, it was steady and warm, like something wrapping around me, grounding me in a way nothing else had been able to all day. And I could feel her pulling me, not forcefully, just guiding me back toward my bedroom, toward her altar. I followed that pull without really thinking about it. I went to my altar and I dropped to my knees. I prayed, I cried, begged, everything in me just pouring out all at once, and then eventually I went quiet. And that silence felt different, not empty, not numb, just still, like something in me had finally stopped fighting long enough to listen. I could feel the fear and the sorrow starting to loosen their grip, not quite gone, but no longer consuming everything. My breathing slowed, my body felt heavier, more grounded, and in that space something began to take shape. I may not have control over the situation, I remember thinking, the words forming slowly and deliberately, but I do have control over how I respond to it. And that was the moment it shifted. I wasn't calm, I wasn't okay, but I also wasn't powerless anymore either. I knew what I needed to do, so I stayed there with Hekate and began to write, not overthinking it, not second-guessing it, just letting it come through as it needed to. A protection working. 2 bottles. One for my childhood home, for my mom, for that land, for everything and everyone held within it, and one for my best friend's home to hold the same line, to carry the same protection. Something that could stand where I couldn't. Something that could hold the boundary when I couldn't physically be there to do it myself. I didn't move right away. I just sat there with it for a moment, letting the shape of it settle into my body before my hands caught up. Then I started gathering what I needed, not like I was following a checklist, but like I was remembering something I already knew. I wrote their names first, their addresses. I wanted to be exact, unmistakable. This place, these people. And beneath it, I wrote what I needed to be true. Protected, preserved, passed over by harm. I folded the paper toward me, drawing that intention inward, like I was pulling a boundary closed. I anointed the insides of the jars, the paper, and my fingers with Hekate oil, letting it be known at the crossroads. And then I started building it, layer by layer. Black salt first, a line in the sand, a boundary that says this is where something stops. Then the roots, burdock, something that holds and anchors and doesn't get moved. just because something external is loud or destructive. I needed that steadiness in it. Cedar came next, active in a way that feels like land and memory and something that has stood through more than then juniper. Clean and sharp and untouched, not denying what's happening, but not letting it in either. I placed the folded paper inside each jar and paused again, really letting myself feel where each one was going. My mom's house, that land, my best friend's home, not abstract places, real, lived in spaces with lives inside of them. And then I sealed them, not aggressively, not like I was fighting anything, just firmly with intention. I tied the string around each one slowly and deliberately, feeling the motion more than thinking about it. This is the gate. This is the lock. Not as a command, but as a truth I was setting in place. And when I held them, one in each hand, I let myself see it. The homes intact, the fire moving past, and the line holding. I didn't rush this part because that was the moment it became real. Not because I said the right words or used the right ingredients, but because I was no longer just reacting. I was standing somewhere with it, holding something steady, something that could exist alongside the reality of the fire without trying to override it, something that could hold the line. And I kept them on my altar after that. I let them sit there, present, the same way the fire was present. And over the next few hours, something in me shifted. The fear didn't disappear, but it stopped running unchecked. It had somewhere to go, a shape, a direction, and a boundary. I still checked the app, but not in that frantic, grasping way like it was the only thing holding everything together. And I realized I wasn't trying to stop the fire or control something already in motion. I was standing at the edge of it and deciding what it was allowed to take. And that feels different in your body. It feels like participation instead of panic, kind of like being in a relationship with what's happening instead of at the mercy of it. And that's what mattered most. Not the jars themselves, not the specific ingredients, not even the exact words, but the act of taking something overwhelming and uncontainable and giving it a boundary, turning fear into something structured, and trusting that where you stand and how you stand actually matters. I hope today's episode resonated with you, and if it did, you're welcome to share it with someone who might need this conversation. If it stirred questions, reflections, or even disagreement, you're welcome to join the conversation or suggest future topics on Instagram or YouTube at Salt and Sovereignty, or reach out via email saltandsovereignty@gmail.com. Until next time, honor the truth that keeps you sovereign.